Looking at commercial real estate can be exciting, especially when your business is growing, but these are 5 things you need to take into consideration before you actually purchase a building. My name's Eric Sexton, and I've been selling commercial real estate to business owners and business executives for 20 years, helping them find the right buildings to grow and operate their business. If you like this video and you think it's helpful, hit subscribe and follow me on YouTube. The first and possibly most important is location, location, location. It is the oldest rule of real estate. But in commercial real estate, a lot of people jump right into where is the best deal. And then you end up running your business in a location that you're not happy about. Maybe it takes too long to drive from your home, or there just aren't any amenities there to go grab lunch. So 2 things you need to do in the location is really consider what part of town you want to be in. Drive it during your business hours and also on the weekend. A big mistake business owners do is they go drive a property on the weekend because that's when they're not working. Then come to find out, they buy the building, and then when they drive there during the workday, it is busy with traffic and they hate commuting there every day. When you finally identify a part of town that you want to be in, really research your commute, how long it takes you to get there during certain times a day, what kind of amenities are there, maybe where your staff would go eat lunch. I have a client who has about 200 employees, and before he bought his building, he did a survey to his entire staff asking what parts of town they live in because he didn't want to make the new location inconvenient for his employees, because if they hate coming to work, there's a good chance they might quit and go somewhere else. So before moving, make sure you know where your staff lives, and especially key people, that it is a convenient place for them to go. Looking at buildings, you also need to understand where your vendors might be. If you're a roofing company, you want to know where you buy all your materials. And if you find a good deal on a building that's really far away from your vendors, that could add a cost to your operating costs. So really run through running your business, how long your commute is, where your clients are, where your vendors are, where your employees are, and add all those things together to make sure that the location is really viable and efficient for you to run your business. Maybe just not going after a good deal because it might be in an inconvenient part of town that will cost you a lot more money than just getting a good deal on a building. The second thing you should consider before buying a building is your finances. It seems like an obvious thing, but a lot of people overlook it. Take the time to call your bank, maybe a mortgage broker, and get a good idea of what a loan would be like, because there's a lot of good programs like SBA loans on top of conventional financing, and it might have a program that would make the opportunity to buy a building a lot sooner than you think. So understand your financing options, understand how much you can get a loan for, and really understand what the process looks like with like a down payment, what the monthly payments would be like. Just come up with a scenario where you think maybe my building's going to cost $2 million. Talk to your banker and find out what the down payment would look like, what the monthly payments look like, and what is required to get a loan. For an example, an SBA loan, you need to be in business for at least 2 years and occupy at least 51% of the building. So knowing that information, it will give you an idea how much money you need to buy the building with a down payment and what your monthly costs will look like. And by doing the due diligence, by talking to a banker, you'll understand what buildings you can and can't afford, because there's no point at looking at a building that's simply out of your budget. The third is the true cost of ownership, and I'm going to break down what that means. You need to take things into consideration more than just the mortgage. You need to think of things like the property taxes, deferred maintenance, just the monthly cost of running the building, things like trash, landscaping, sweeping the parking lot. Maybe your air conditioning breaks down. So get a good idea of what it costs to maintain and run the building. You can find this out by talking to a real estate broker. They can give you an idea of past expenses, or even just call up a property manager. Even if you don't have a relationship with them, just ask them, hey, I'm thinking of buying a 5,000 square foot industrial building. What do you think the utilities and the operating cost of this will run me? And a lot of times they're happy to share that information because there is a pretty good average when you're looking at the building. So don't forget that you have bills on top of the mortgage. And sometimes it's these costs that will actually kill the deal for a buyer. It's just an extra cost that makes it a little outside their budget. The fourth thing you need to consider before buying a building is deferred maintenance, or in other terms, stuff that needs to be fixed. You might find your ideal building and it seems like a really good deal, but when you get into it, maybe the roof needs to be replaced, or there's plumbing issues, or in a worst case scenario, the electrical might catch on fire. So something like a new roof could add a considerable amount to the purchase price. So really understand what it takes to bring the building up to your standard, and then you'll really get an idea of the cost on top of the purchase price. Number 5 is ask a lot of questions. Get familiar with the neighborhood. Talk to more people than just the person trying to sell you the building. walk the area, maybe talk to tenants that are next door, or if there's other building owners in the area, talk to the property manager, get the association, if there is one, get their information. Call all those people and ask if there's any information you need to know. Maybe there's some challenges of being in the area. Get things like zoning laws, maybe parking requirements. Maybe you need 20 parking spots, but the building only comes with 10. So really get a feel for the building. And the most important thing that I also tell people is drive the building during business hours, not just on weekends, because again, business owners love to go on weekends because they're not working, but you don't see the park in operational kind of status. So when you go, Tuesday at 2 o'clock, you'll see what the parking looks like and traffic flow looks like. It gives you a good idea of what things look when they're in action. There's a lot that goes into buying a commercial building, so don't rush into it. It could be one of your biggest financial mistakes. So remember, just take your time, understand why you want to buy your building, and get an idea of your criteria, because your criteria might be different than somebody else's. Say, for example, you're going to use the building and somebody else is telling you advice based on an investment. So work with trusted professionals, don't rush, and really understand what you're going to be buying. We should get a remote for both those cameras so that when I can control the on and off.